Tomorrow, the 1st of April, is not an ordinary date in the sky. This is the kind of cosmic moment that feels like reality itself has reached for the handle of a locked doorway you thought would never open. For months, maybe years, something inside you has been living with the ache of an impossible dream, the vision that stayed alive in the quiet corners of your spirit, even when the world gave you every reason to give up. But tomorrow, the energy changes, not softly, not symbolically, decisively. The universe is moving the threshold beneath your feet. And for 3 zodiac signs, what once felt unreachable begins crossing into physical reality. You must understand. What is happening now? This is not random hope. This is not wishful thinking. The sky carries the signature of Saturn meeting Neptune, a sacred collision between structure and faith, discipline and destiny, form and vision. One planet governs what is real, earned, tested, and proven. The other rules dreams, intuition, miracles, longing, and the invisible architecture of your soul's deepest desires. When these two forces meet, the doorway between the unseen and the tangible begins to open. What you once could only feel becomes something you can touch. What once lived only in your inner world begins asking for embodiment. This is why the last season of your life may have felt so heavy. You may have felt like you were standing in front of a sealed door, hand pressed against it, sensing that something existed on the other side, but never receiving confirmation. You may have questioned your timing, your worth, your direction even, your faith in yourself. Some of you have carried heartbreak into sleep and awakened with the same unanswered question in your chest. Others have moved through silence so thick it felt like the universe had forgotten your name. But it was never punishment. It was preparation. The hallway before the doorway is always the loneliest part of the journey. For many of you, the dream itself became painful to hold. It may be love that never arrived in the way you hoped. It may be the business, the career leap, the financial breakthrough, the move, the home, the healing, the child, the recognition, the peace, or the version of yourself you have been trying to become. The reason it has felt impossible is because the old version of your life was never built to contain it. Before the doorway opens, your inner world must be rebuilt. Saturn demanded maturity. Neptune demanded surrender. Together, they have been reshaping your inner architecture so that when this dream arrives, it does not destroy you. It completes you. And now, the shift begins. Tomorrow's energy carries the unmistakable feeling of rebirth through a doorway motif. This is the moment where exhaustion starts turning into evidence, where confusion starts becoming clarity, where longing becomes movement, where the silence finally reveals it was never empty, it was gestation. You are being shown that the closed doors of the past were not rejection. They were redirection toward the one threshold aligned with your real future. You may already feel it in your body, a strange restlessness, pressure in the chest that feels less like anxiety and more like anticipation. Sudden dreams that feel symbolic and cinematic, repeating numbers, repeating themes, repeating conversations, a feeling that time is somehow moving slower and faster at once. This is what happens when you are standing in front of a soul level doorway. Your nervous system senses the life change before your mind can explain it. Some of you have been carrying throat tension lately, unable to say what you truly need, unable to ask for what your soul has already chosen. Tomorrow's sky changes that. The words come, the truth comes. The conversation you have rehearsed in silence begins to form in the real world. For others, the sign is fatigue, an unusual heaviness, the kind that asks you to stop forcing and start listening. When the doorway opens, your body often asks for stillness first, because intuition sharpens in silence. Financially, this transit is far more powerful than it first appears. Saturn does not allow abundance without alignment, and Neptune does not allow wealth without meaning. This means the dream becoming real may arrive through money, but not in the shallow sense people expect. This is about the doorway to sustainable prosperity. The project you nearly abandoned may suddenly attract the right audience. The delayed payment, approval, investment, contract, or offer may finally move forward. The job path that once seemed unrealistic begins showing concrete signs of support. The key here is that tomorrow rewards what has been spiritually and practically prepared. If you have been living in scarcity patterns, this transit exposes the emotional doorway beneath them. Money is not only numbers now, it becomes a reflection of what you believe you deserve to receive. Some of you are being shown that your impossible dream was never blocked by fate, but by an unconscious loyalty to survival mode. Saturn breaks that cycle by demanding boundaries and responsibility. Neptune dissolves it by reminding you that receiving is also sacred. It's where everything changes. You stop begging life for proof and start becoming available for it in work and business. The signs are subtle but undeniable. An old idea returns with better timing. A person from the past reappears with a practical opportunity. A delayed launch suddenly finds the exact doorway it needed. You may feel called to restructure your plans, simplify your offers, or focus on the one vision that continues haunting you in the most beautiful way. That haunting is not fear. It is destiny asking to be built. Your health and body are part of this spiritual story too. The body becomes the hallway before the doorway. Watch your sleep tonight and tomorrow. The dream state may become unusually vivid, almost prophetic. Your subconscious may bring symbols of keys, gates, bridges, old homes, staircases, or literal doors. Hydration matters now because Neptune's influence can make the emotional body porous, amplifying overwhelm and intuition alike. Saturn reminds you that spiritual breakthroughs require physical support. Rest, water, breath, and nervous system regulation are not side notes. They are part of how the miracle stabilizes. Emotionally, you may feel tears closer to the surface than usual. Not because something is wrong, but because an old emotional threshold is dissolving. The grief of what did not happen on your preferred timeline may rise briefly before the new doorway fully opens. Let it. This is the final release before rebirth. Some dreams only arrive after you mourn the version that never could. Nowhere is. This transit sharper than in relationships. The doorway theme becomes intensely personal here. A connection that has been trapped in silence may finally reveal its truth. If someone has been giving mixed signals, tomorrow exposes whether they are standing in the doorway with you or merely watching from the hallway. Watch actions, not poetic. Words, Saturn demands consistency. Neptune reveals emotional truth. Together, they strip illusion from connection and show you what is spiritually real. For some of you, this means a relationship deepens in a way that feels fated. A conversation about commitment, future plans, emotional honesty, or healing arrives with unusual maturity. Walls that once felt impossible begin softening. But for others, the doorway reveals that someone was never meant to walk through this. Next chapter beside you? If their presence drains your clarity, weakens your self-trust, or keeps you circling the same emotional confusion, this transit may close that hallway permanently so the correct door can finally appear. This is why self-respect becomes magnetic tomorrow. The universe is asking you to stop lingering outside doors that were never yours. The impossible dream does not open through chasing. It opens through alignment, timing. It's the courage to trust what the silence has been teaching you. And now we arrive at the 3 zodiac signs most affected by this. It's the 1st of April doorway of rebirth. Aries, this is your moment of emergence. The doorway opening for you is personal identity itself. For too long, you may have been trying to become the version of yourself others could accept instead of the one your soul recognizes. Tomorrow changes that. Saturn and Neptune meet in a way that dissolves the false self and strengthens the real one. Your impossible dream becomes real when you stop asking permission to embody it. A new life chapter, a new role, a new title, a new image, or even a complete personal reinvention may begin now. The reason this feels overwhelming is because you are not stepping into a new room. You are becoming the doorway, Pisces, for you. This is about value, worth, and the materialization of what your intuition has whispered for years. The dream becoming real may involve money, security, creative success, or emotional peace that finally feels tangible. You have carried invisible faith through seasons that would have broken lesser spirits. Tomorrow, the doorway opens through evidence, a sign, an offer, a realization, a shift in self-worth changes the way you receive life. But the real miracle is internal. You finally understand that your softness was never weakness. It was the key. Capricorn, your doorway is destiny through structure. What has felt delayed, burdened, or painfully slow now reveals why timing mattered. You are not being given a shortcut, you are being given permanence. The impossible dream becomes real because the foundation is finally strong enough to hold it. This may arrive through career elevation, status, leadership, public recognition, legacy building, or a deeply stabilizing personal milestone. The reason it feels surreal is because the hallway behind you was built from years of endurance. Tomorrow, endurance turns into arrival, but this is only the first threshold. Because what opens tomorrow is not just the dream itself, it is the test of whether you are truly ready to walk through the doorway and live differently once it opens. What makes the 1st of April so spiritually rare is that the doorway does not simply open and remain neutral. Once you see it, once you feel the shift, once reality starts echoing the dream you have carried in silence, you are being asked one sacred question. Will you trust the new chapter enough to stop living from the wounds of the old one? This is where many people hesitate. The impossible dream can begin arriving, and yet the mind still looks backward, still measures the future by yesterday's disappointments, still expects the hallway of delays to repeat itself. But tomorrow's Saturn-Neptune union is not here to tease you with possibility. It is here to demand embodiment. This is why the energy after the opening may feel emotionally intense. Some of you will notice a strange duality in the body. Relief, mixed with fear, excitement braided with grief. Hope touching the exact places where you once learned disappointment. The doorway motif becomes deeply psychological now. You are not only crossing into a new external reality. You are crossing out of an internal prison built from old timelines, old betrayals, old definitions of what you believed was possible for your life. You may feel this as heaviness in the chest, but unlike the heaviness of anxiety, this one carries movement. It feels like something inside you is shifting furniture in the soul. Old beliefs are being carried out. New truths are being brought in. Strange calm may arrive in moments where you expected panic. Tears may rise when good news appears, because the nervous system often needs time to trust that the doorway is real. This is not weakness. This is the body recalibrating to safety, expansion, and permission. And this is where the universe is asking you not to sabotage the miracle by clinging to familiar pain. Many of you have spent so long in spiritual preparation that chaos became normal. Uncertainty became identity. Waiting became routine. So when the dream starts becoming tangible, there can be an unconscious temptation to test it, question it, overanalyze it, or delay your own movement. Do not ignore this pattern. Saturn is showing you where fear disguises itself as practicality. Neptune is showing you where fantasy disguises itself as truth. The doorway only stabilizes when you meet it with grounded faith. This becomes especially important in your money story. Tomorrow and the days immediately after may carry abundance through alignment rather than force. The old pattern may have been overworking, undercharging, overgiving, or saying yes to paths that kept you safe, but spiritually starved.
Ow.
The new doorway changes that. Some of you may receive news involving a raise, a client, an approval, a contract, a delayed payout, a business pivot, or a new idea that suddenly feels both inspired and practical. The magic of Saturn meeting Neptune is that wealth is no longer separate from purpose. The dream becomes profitable because it becomes real enough to support others. But there is a warning hidden inside the blessing. Neptune can make false opportunities look golden. This is why tomorrow's financial guidance is to choose the doorway that feels calm, sustainable, and structurally sound, not merely the one that flatters the ego. If an offer feels rushed, unclear, emotionally manipulative, or too perfect without practical substance, pause. The real doorway does not need illusion to convince you. It will feel spiritually resonant and materially coherent. For creators, entrepreneurs, and those building long-term visions, this transit can feel like a resurrection. The audience that did not see you before may suddenly begin responding. Work that felt invisible may find its people. Concept you almost abandoned may reveal that it only needed different timing. This is especially powerful if your dream involves voice, teaching, healing, storytelling, spiritual work, media, counseling, or any path where your inner world becomes service. Tomorrow is the moment the doorway between your soul's gift and the world's need begins to align. Your body, meanwhile, remains one of the clearest messengers. Pay close attention to your sleep cycle, because the doorway often speaks in dreams before it speaks in daylight. Some of you may wake at unusual hours, especially around the deep night, with intense thoughts, symbols, or sudden knowing. Keep a journal nearby. The messages may come in fragments at first: an old house, a staircase, a key, a child water, a hallway, a person from the past, a light behind a closed room. These are not random. The subconscious is translating the transit into symbols your soul can understand. The nervous system may also feel unusually sensitive. Loud environments, chaotic people, and overstimulation may feel heavier than normal. This is because your energetic field is reorganizing around a new threshold. Protect your body from unnecessary noise. Hydrate more than usual. Eat in a way that grounds rather than numbs. The dream becoming real requires your body to believe it is safe to receive it. Now we move into what may be the most powerful section of this entire transit: relationships and emotional truth, the doorway in love. Trust and communication is impossible to ignore now. If you have been waiting for clarity from another person, tomorrow begins to reveal whether this connection belongs in your next chapter or in your lessons. Saturn strips away excuses. Neptune dissolves fantasy. Together, they reveal the emotional architecture beneath someone's behavior. You must watch what people do when the energy changes. Who reaches for honesty? Who becomes more present? Who meets you at the doorway instead of asking you to remain in the hallway of uncertainty? This is where mixed signals lose their power. Someone only appears when they feel your energy pulling away. If they offer promises without consistency, if they keep your heart suspended in confusion, transit can become the final revelation. That the dream was never them. It was the version of yourself you were meant to become by outgrowing them for stable relationships. However, the doorway becomes beautiful. A deeper level of emotional maturity may emerge. Conversations about commitment, future plans, healing old wounds, family, or shared resources can now happen with more honesty than before. If a bond is real, this transit gives it form. The dream becomes real through mutual effort, emotional responsibility, and the courage to build something lasting rather than merely intense. This is also a profound moment for self-relationship. The way you speak to yourself after tomorrow matters. If the impossible dream begins showing signs of movement, do not immediately search for reasons it will fail. Speak to the future as if it is already learning your name. The doorway listens to your inner language. So what should you do during this transit? Slow down enough to recognize the real threshold. Do not chase anyone or anything that requires self-betrayal. Have the one conversation you have been postponing. Write the dream down in concrete terms, not vague longing. Protect your money from emotional spending. Say yes to the practical step that turns vision into structure. Rest when your body asks. Watch actions over words. If the doorway opens, walk through it before fear convinces you the hallway was safer. And now, let us go deeper into the 3 zodiac signs most affected, because this is where the script becomes intensely personal. Aries. This second doorway is about courage after identity rebirth. In part 1, the shift began within your sense of self. Now it becomes visible in the world around you. People may begin responding differently to your presence. A new opportunity may arise because you are no longer carrying the energy of self-doubt. The impossible dream becomes real through decisive action, a move, a launch, a confession, a commitment, or a bold public step. Your lesson is simple but powerful. Stop shrinking your future to fit the comfort of people who only knew your past. Pisces. Your sin feels this transit like prophecy becoming evidence. The doorway around money, worth, and spiritual gifts continues. Opening, but now relationships become part of the miracle. Someone may finally recognize your value. A creative project may become materially supported. A long period of emotional invisibility may end as the right people begin finding you. The impossible dream becomes real when you stop apologizing for needing softness, beauty, and meaning in your life. The right doorway for you never asks you to harden into someone else. Capricorn, your second threshold is legacy. What begins tomorrow may not only change this month, it may shape the next decade. Career recognition, authority, responsibility, a major life decision, or a structural milestone can now emerge in a way that feels almost surreal. The impossible dream becomes real because you have already paid the price in discipline, patience, and endurance. But now, you must allow yourself to receive without turning every blessing into another burden. The doorway is not another test. It is arrival. As we close this cosmic transmission, understand the deeper truth. The dream was never impossible. It only required the version of you who could survive the hallway before the doorway. Tomorrow, the 1st of April. Saturn and Neptune ask you to trust what is becoming real. Not because it is easy, not because it is guaranteed, but because your soul has spent too long preparing for a life it still speaks about as if it belongs to someone else. It belongs to you. The love, the peace, the work, the abundance, the healing, the recognition, the chapter that once lived only in imagination. The doorway is open now. Do not stand there explaining your wounds. It's the threshold. Do not bring old fear into a room built for your future. Do not confuse the silence behind you for the life ahead of you. Walk through, because for Aries, Pisces, and Capricorn, tomorrow is not simply a date. It is the moment the universe stops asking whether you believe in the dream and starts asking whether you are ready to live inside it. And if you can feel the doorway already opening around your life, this is your sign that the impossible was only waiting for the right version of you to arrive.